This is part 2, Saturday, March 7th. Recorded live at the English Valleys History Center. Here's Jackie.
Well, the old lady had another glitch, so here we are with part 2 again. We'll start where we left off. We were talking about Cecil Walsh coming to fix Lib's equipment. Cecil Walsh was the father of my late church friend Sandra Spain from Wattier. Ironically, Sandra and I lived in the same house on East Washington Street when we were children, she in the 1940s and early 1950s, and me in the late 1950s and early 1960s. That house was built by her father, Cecil Walsh, and that house is now the home of my brother, Lou Geringer. Don Hall, who also came to help, owned a shop on Main Street and was very handy at fixing things. Jenny came in the evening. They were all home yesterday in honor of Walter's, Melva's, and Suzanne's birthdays. Walter, or Bud Wade, is on the back right in this picture. I don't have a picture of Melva, but she was the wife of Harold, or Stub Wade, on the back left side of this picture. And Suzanne Kurtz was their oldest grandchild, and she was 8 years old at that party. Jenny is feeling better. Maybe part of her trouble is cold settled in her breast. Hope it is nothing serious. Perhaps getting older may cause it too. I wrote to Anna. October 9th, 1950. Bessie Curl's birthday, 1894. She was the little sister when I was married. Bessie Curl lives in Texas with her husband Everett Curl, very near to Lib's daughter Anna and her family. Bessie was the younger sister of Lib's husband, Albert Otis, or Bert Wade. Don Hall came and fixed the connection on the oil barrel, and Al Smith filled it. 105 gallons at 13.7. $14.39, tax 29 cents, total $14.68. I talked to Neva Morse. They visited Hattie last night. She is getting better again. Sat up yesterday. Her setback was quite serious. Quite a lot of bleeding. Neva Morse is in this picture between her daughter Leona Bursler and my mother Etheldean Keller in the front row of this picture. I put the cabinet back where it used to be. We'll be ready for the new stove now. Russell went to Cedar Rapids today, so I am alone. It is nice and clear. Sun shining. A good wash day. It was a mistake. Russell didn't go to Cedar Rapids. Came home for dinner, none ready. Had it on in a few minutes, though. Flossie came in a while. She left her car at the station for oil change. Flossie West was the ex-wife of Winter West and was the granddaughter of Lib's cousin, Wallace Claypool. Mary Rugsager was here, or Mary Newhouse was here, and Stella and Mary Rugsager. Mary Newhouse was another neighbor. The neighbor women were often doing needlework or visiting at Lib's home. Jenny came up later, brought some of that birthday dinner left from yesterday. Heard that Dial Dennisons are to move into the Winter West house the 15th of October. Dial Dennison was newly married and was the son of Earl and Maud Hall Dennison and the brother of Wilfred Dennison and Jean Dennison, etc. Neva Cray was here too this p.m. The Rebeccas are to serve the Rotary Club dinner on Thursday. Money to go to an endowment fund for the lodge. Neva is the vice grand, so has charge. Neva Cray was the sister-in-law of Lib's daughter Anna. I remember her from when her name was Neva Burdine, and she lived in a little house on North Boland Avenue when I was a child. She was the mother of Dorothy Blount and Johnette Hudson. Neva was the vice grand, like a vice president of the Rebeccas. Rebecca's was a lodge group that Lib belonged to but is unable to attend now. The Rotary Club was a social club of mostly businessmen from town. I caught my foot on the rug and fell. Hurt my injured foot, but not too bad, I guess. And that's the end of the diaries for today. The English Valleys History Center promotes the rich history of the communities within the river valleys of the North, Middle, and South English rivers. It encompasses an area roughly served by the English Valley School District from Deep River to near Parnell and from Watcher to Kinross. This also includes the communities of Millersburg, North English, Webster, and South English. Please send donations to the English Valleys History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa 52316. This is a reminder that the next alumni luncheon group will meet at the North English Main Street Pub and Grub in North English on March 23rd at 11:30 a.m. Please contact Linda Holden Carter or Alice Flooring Stramer for reservations. And here is a list of programs that will be featured at the History Center in 2026. For more information, you could join the English Valleys History Center Facebook page or do a pause on this screen if you're watching on YouTube. Randy Feiselman will start us off on Sunday, March 29th at 2 p.m. with a discussion of her recent book, The Union First, Community and Commitment in the 1st Iowa Infantry. And I have heard that Bob and Christy Black will be serenading us with Civil War music, too. This picture was recently shared on the internet. It is probably from 1959, and it's the North English Little League. In the back row are, from left, the coaches Bill or Casey Kolasic, Norman or Tib Wilkerson, and Robert Fleming. In the middle row, from left, are Bob Dillon, Jim Hester, Randy Lown, Dale Davison, Steve Brown, and Jim Wade. And in the front row are Ron Ritchie, Mike Caskey, Earl Morrison, Fred Smith, John Wade, Gary Davison, John Hall, Lloyd Warner, Gary Miller, and Dan McDonald. Correspondence. Mark Claypool said, one word to describe this day, today, outstanding. Another great week, Jackie. My friend Carol Benson from Sigourney said, next thing you know, we'll be watching movies with you in them. My listener, Vicki Johnson from California said, I enjoyed today's broadcast as usual. It's amazing, Jackie, how generous you are with your time. I appreciate it very much. You might remember I was telling you the history of Lib's birth family. Here's a picture of Lib on the left with the children of her brother Benton Claypool. They are Jonathan or Jonty Claypool, Louise Long, Otis Claypool, and Bertha Geringer. We know that this picture was taken in 1950 because Lib talks about going to the Blair reunion and getting the picture with the four of them. And here is a picture of those four children in the early 1900s. That would be the children of Benton and Rosa Claypool. From the youngest, they are Bertha Geringer, Louise Long, Otis Claypool, and Jonathan or Jonty Claypool. Jonty was the oldest son. He was married to Elsie Dayton, and they had 3 children. They divorced, and he married Viola Tippy, who was the mother of Arnold Tippy and his sisters. Viola was then known as Viola Claypool and lived in North English in her later years. Jonty's 3 children were Louis Benton Claypool, Bernice Santee, and Luella Bailey. Anna Bernice Claypool Santee is also the little girl shown in this picture on the right with her Aunt Bertha Claypool in 1917. I don't have a picture of her as an adult. Bernice went to school in Parnell and later lived in Cupertino, California. She died at age 50 and was brought back here for burial at Yankee Point Cemetery. Bernice's brother, Dr. Lewis Benton Claypool, went to school in Parnell and grew up to be a family doctor in Phoenix. Their sister, Mary Luella Claypool Bailey, who was known as Luella or Lou, was married to Derlin or Dooley Bailey. Dooley really liked the Yankee Point Cemetery and chose for them to be buried there too. Now for the children of Mary Louise Claypool Long. Louise was married to John Long, and their children were Gail, who was John's daughter with his first wife, Della Elizabeth Wagaman, who died in 1917. And the children of Louise and John were Gerald Long, who died at age 8. Marion Long Wade. Ivan Long. Anne Louise Long Yonda. Charlotte Long Blevins. John Wendell Long. You might remember from last week's story that his middle name came from their family friend Wendell Bauer. And Richard Long and Delmer Long were the two youngest, and they are on the right side in this picture with their parents. The next child in the family of Benton and Rosa Claypool was Otis Claypool. Otis was married to Pearl Polton and had 3 children. Later in life, after both of their spouses passed, he married Ada Hanchett. The 3 children of Otis and Pearl were Leora Claypool, who was married to Lyra Woodard. Their children were Joanne Ritchie and Donnie Woodard. And in the center is Charles Claypool. He was married to Cordell Brown, and their children were Gary and Patty and Lanny Claypool. And Nedra Don't is on the right side. She was married to Marvin Don't. Here's a picture of Charles and Cordell Claypool. And here's a picture of Nedra Don't, who has always been a family friend and relative and recently passed away. And here's a picture of Nedra and her husband Marvin Don't and their 2 boys, Rick and Jerry. They also have a girl named Samra. And finally, the youngest child of Benton Rosa Claypool was my grandmother, Bertha Claypool Geringer. She was married to my grandpa, John Geringer. And her 11 boys are shown in this picture from 1959. On the left, Glenn or Sparky, Donald, Al, James Benton or Doc, Marvin, John Francis, my dad, and in the front from left, Arnold, Robert or Bob, Dean, Chuck, and Ronnie. John T. Claypool, the oldest of the siblings, passed away in 1953, so he is not in this picture. These are the remaining 3 siblings. From left, Otis and Ada Claypool, John and Louise Long, and John and Bertha Geringer. Next week, I will tell you some more about Lib's huge family. And to my many listeners that are descended from Lib's brother Werner, Yes, I will get to your family soon.